Hey everyone, good evening. We are live. We are live at 5 on Wednesday. How is everyone? How is everyone? I'm excited to be here. It's my favorite day of the week besides Friday, right? We're going to talk tonight about how I fired my biggest client and doubled my revenue. I actually was just talking to an Ashley boss over the DM from Tennessee, and she was talking about the same thing, firing your biggest client because they're such a pain in the ass, right? Exactly. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Cheryl Hadger. I founded this group, Sisters Who Scale. I help cleaning business owners grow their revenue, learn how to hire, learn how to fire, grow their management teams, and scale their cleaning businesses. Today, I'm going to take you back to a version of me that I don't talk about a lot. If you're joining for the first time, let me know where you are. Say hi. Let me know where you're from. All right. Say hello. And where are you from? I always like to chime in and talk, right? Ooh, that came twice. So there was a stretch of time in my cleaning business career. I'm still an active owner in my business, but there was a stretch of time where I wasn't building a brand. I wasn't thinking about niches or margins or payroll or any of that. I was thinking about one thing: how I'm going to feed my son this week, how I am going to pay the rent, right? That's it. That's the whole strategy, the whole survival. And when you're in that place, when it's not about growth, it's about keeping the lights on and keeping food on the table for your kid, you don't say no to anything. You can't say no to anything. Every job that rings on your phone, you're like, yep, I'll take it, because every yes is a paycheck. And paychecks buy groceries, and groceries gets your son eating good food this week, right? So I took every job, every single one, no matter what it was, no matter what it paid, no matter what condition it was in. I did it because in my head, any job was better than no job. So there was no other option for me that I could see. And it wasn't picking clients. I was surviving off of whoever would pay me. And I tell you this not because I want sympathy. It was a long time ago. I tell you this because I know some of you are in that exact seat right now. You're not thinking about scaling. And I need you to know, I see you, I was you. And what I'm about to teach you tonight is not a lesson from someone who's forgotten what it felt like. Okay? It's a lesson from someone who lived it and had to find a way out of it. So let me tell you about the jobs that fed my son and kept a roof over my head, because they weren't pretty and they cost me more than I realized at the time. So here's how it worked. Property management companies, they pay you a flat rate per unit. That's it. Doesn't matter what's behind that door. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Could be a tenant who cleaned before they left. Great. Awesome. That's very rare. Okay. Could be a stove with grease baked on so thick that it's basically fused to the metal. And they want to pay you the same rate. And it took you 3 times as long to clean the unit, right? Could be a fridge where something died inside of it. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not exaggerating. For a fact, something died in there. Same rate. No AC half the time, right? Summer, gross, nasty units, no airflow. I'm in there sweating through my clothes, gagging, scraping off mystery stuff off of the surfaces for the exact same check as a light clean and a vacuum on a unit down the hall, right? And I want you to sit with that part, because that part made me the maddest. And looking back, those property managers, they got to dictate how much they paid me. And it had nothing to do with the condition of the unit, right? I could show up to a biohazard and walk in the park in the same week and get paid identically for both units. So why did I keep doing this? Why did I just keep saying no? Because I had the schedule to fill, and I told myself any job is better than no job. That was my rule. That was the rule I ran my business on for way too long. And on top of the gross factor, these companies paid net 30, net 60. Sometimes I'd work And there were a couple of times I didn't get paid at all. Couple of guys didn't pay me, right? And these units were gross. I used to go into Boston. I used to park at Harvard University and get tickets because I didn't have commercial plates at the time. And I would clean these disgusting units where I used an oven cleaner so strong it would make me sit down for 45 minutes and catch my breath because it had gone into my lungs and caused central nervous system damage. That was my Tuesday. That was my Thursday. That was a huge chunk of my business in the beginning for a long time. So let me give you a few more snapshots, okay? Because I don't want you to think this was a one-time deal. This was a reoccurring occurrence, okay? Story number 2. I got stiffed twice by 2 different property managers, right? I did the work, full clean, everything they asked for, pictures, invoice, nothing, no payment. I chased it. I sent letters. I followed up, and both times I never saw a dime. A dime. Think about that. I showed up, my own supplies, my time, my gas, and twice I got silence. Twice, no checks in the mail, that kind of stuff, right? That's the kind of thing doesn't happen when you're actually working for clients who actually value you. And that's what any job is better than no job gets you. Not just bad pay, sometimes no pay. Sometimes no pay. There was a guy that hired me to clean these units in Boston. He was the one I got the Harvard University units from, and those were gross, by the way. And he tried to take me to the Bahamas. Instead of paying me, he wanted to take me to the Bahamas, and he was gross. I don't know what was grosser, the dirty apartments or him. He was just disgusting human. But I was trying to build my business, and I was doing whatever I could. I was doing whatever I could, right? And the property managers, they're always, they need it done by tomorrow morning. They want you to drop everything. So I'd rearrange my entire week, bump other clients just to make a timeline. And I was never appreciated. And I was sick of not being appreciated. It was never, thank you for making that happen. It was just expected, because that's what a flat rate disposable relationship looks like. You're not a valued partner. You're a line item they can push around, and they can get someone else to do it maybe if you don't take it on, right? I'm telling you all of this not to complain. I'm telling you because I want you to see the full shape of what any job is better than no job actually cost me. It wasn't gross fridges. It was the money I never collected. It was the respect I never got. And respect is a big thing for me. And a schedule that wasn't even mine. It belonged to whoever called it, right? So I hated these jobs deep down inside. And I want to say that plainly because I think a lot of you are nodding your head right now thinking about your own version of this client. I hated pulling up to those units. I hated not knowing what I was walking into because I didn't get to see them. They would just say, here's the pay, here's the unit. It's a 1-bedroom, it's a 2-bedroom. They would pay a little bit more for a 2-bedroom, but the bedrooms aren't really the things that are the dirtiest. It's usually the kitchen and the bathrooms, right? I used to walk into these units at Harvard University. You think like big professors, big, smart people, they were filthy. They didn't clean it all. I was horrified, absolutely horrified of how these people lived, and I was cleaning them, right? Then I had to hire staff, and I thought, great, now I don't have to do these myself, but they didn't want to do them either. I couldn't get my staff to clean them. I would have to drag them there. They did not want to do them either. I'd send someone out and get a call an hour later. I'm not doing this. This is disgusting. I'm not trained for this. I didn't sign up for this. And they would quit, or they would just refuse to do them. And looking back, they were right to say that, if I'm totally honest with you. So now I'm paying staff at this point, wages to cover the jobs that were already thin margin anyways. I could barely stomach doing it myself. Jobs that were the client pays whatever they feel like. And once I ran the actual numbers, I thought I had a big contract, right? I had like a lot of volume. I felt cool because I was like the go-to for all these things, but like I was hardly making any profit. Sometimes it was a negative number if it took us a long time because I had to pay the staff. And I was running a whole division of my business at a loss and calling it steady work. How many of you feel like that right now? How many of you feel like that right now? Hi, Christina. Hi, Emmanuel from Atlanta. Hi from Italy. How are you? How are you? So here's what I want you to take from this, because this isn't a story about gross fridges. Most cleaning companies, when they start out, even when they've been there for years, the move is to say yes to everything: residential, commercial, move outs, Airbnbs, property management, post construction, whatever rings the phone, because it feels like growth. It feels like, look how much work I have. A packed calendar feels like success, but a packed calendar is not the same thing as a profitable business. And I need you to understand that and think about that. A packed calendar is not the same thing as a profitable business. Taking on every single type of job that comes your way is one of the surest ways to lose money in this industry, because you end up spread across 10 different client types, 10 different expectations, 10 different pricing structures, and you never get good enough or fast enough or efficient enough at any of them to actually make a real margin. You've become a generalist, and generalists get commoditized, right? Generalists get treated like a commodity. They're interchangeable, replaceable, and squeezed on price because there's always someone willing to do it cheaper for that nasty rate. The businesses that are actually pulling ahead right now are not the ones doing every type of cleaning. They're the ones who picked a lane, one or two types of cleanings. They got specific and they got good at it. Good enough that clients pay them like specialists, not like interchangeable commodities. So here's what happened when I finally dropped the property management contracts. And I got to tell you, I was so happy to drop them. I was so happy to drop them. Oh, God. So it felt really scary. It felt like I was cutting off a piece of my schedule, of my income on purpose for no reason, and in the middle of trying to grow a business. Every instinct in me said, don't do this. You need the volume. I did it anyways. And I focused on my business down to one or two main types of cleaning jobs, not 10, not whatever comes in, one or two. And that's when things actually started to turn around. My revenue started to stabilize. I started getting better at what I specialized in, more profit, numbers that actually matter, the number that keeps your bank account full, and the number that looks good on a schedule. Those started to soar, not because I was working more hours, because I was finally working hours that were worth something. I wasn't gagging over something dead in the fridge or the oven for the same pay as a light touch-up anymore. I wasn't chasing net 60 payments whenever they decided that their money came in that they wanted to pay me, right? I was doing work that I was actually good at for clients who actually valued it and getting paid like it. That's the point. So I want to address the thing that is probably running in the back of a lot of your heads right now, because it ran in mine for a long time. And I know you might be thinking, what if I say no and then I have nothing? That scarcity poverty mindset. What if the calendar goes empty and I can't pay myself, can't pay my staff, can't cover my bills this month? I get it. I live that fear, and I want to be straight with you about where that fear comes from, because it's not actually protecting you. It's keeping you stuck. Any job is better than no job is a scarcity mindset. It's a poverty mindset. And it says, I'm not allowed to be selective. I'm not allowed to have standards because something is always better than nothing. And you build this narrative around yourself. And on the surface, it sounds responsible. It sounds like you're being practical, being grateful for the work. But here's what it actually does. It keeps you saying yes to jobs that you lose money on, because a losing job feels safer than an empty slot on your calendar. You're not actually avoiding risk. You're choosing a slow and quiet, guaranteed loss over the temporary discomfort of an open schedule. That's not safety. That's just a loss that you've gotten used to looking at. So I want you to really hear this. An empty slot on your calendar is not a loss. It's not proof that you're failing. It's capacity. It's space for the right job to land in. But you will never see that space, and you will never let the right job land in it if you keep filling every open hour with the wrong job out of fear. So you cannot receive better clients with a calendar that's already full with the wrong ones because you have nowhere to put them. That's the whole trap. That's the whole cycle. And it's the exact trap that I was in with the property management. I thought a full calendar was proof that I was doing good, that I was doing well. It wasn't. It was proof I was scared to find out what would happen if I said no, if I took control of my business. Right? Is that making sense? Making sense, everyone? Hi, Karina. How are you? How are you? So, common objections. If you want to write these down, definitely write these down. Okay, let's kill these. I want you to kill these common objections right now. Quote, but I need the cash flow. I can't afford to turn the work away. End quote. You don't have the cash flow you think you have if you're not making a profit. If a job is costing you money once you factor in labor, drive time, supplies, and the toll it takes on you and your staff, both physically and mentally, that's not cash flow, that's a leak. You're not protecting your income by keeping it. You're protecting the illusion of income. Quote, but what if nothing replaces it? End quote. Something will only replace it if you make room for it and start marketing towards that. Nothing replaces a bad job by accident. You have to actually go for the niche you want. So think about a couple of niches. Maybe it's commercial. Maybe it's residential. Maybe it's Airbnbs. Maybe it's something different like that. Maybe it's hoarders, right? That's a specialty that not everyone can do, but they pay, right? They can pay. So that is on you. And I'll get into that like actually in a second, but nothing changes if you keep the calendar exactly as full as it is right now with crappy jobs. Quote, but I'm just starting out and I can't be picky yet. End quote. I understand the instinct. I was there. But even early on, you can track which jobs are draining you, which ones are worth repeating. So the second you have leverage at all, you already know what to cut. Don't be afraid to cut the dead wood. Waiting until you're big enough, which is completely subjective, to select means you'll never feel big enough. I promise you that. This is the mindset shift that has to happen before the tips I'm about to give you actually work. So if you do the exercise below, but you're still secretly operating, any job is better than no job, you'll talk yourself right back into keeping those jobs that are bleeding you dry. Is this making sense? Tell me if this is making sense, everyone. Hi, Ellie. How are you? Karina says, this is what I'm working on right now. A nasty kitchen, scraping off caked up grease off of cabinets and walls. I know it's gross. Was this a property manager? Was this a residential? What kind of job was that? All right, so I'm going to leave you with a story. I love stories. Here's what I want you to actually do today or sometime this week. It's the end, almost the end of the week here. If there's a type of job, a client, a property, a category that you dread every single time it comes up, a type of job you clean, that you take because you feel like you have to, not because you want to, write it down. That resentment is data. That usually is the first sign of a job type that is costing you more than it's paying you. Tip 2. That was tip number 1. Find the job type you say yes to resentfully. Tip number 2, do the math. Do the real math. Profit per hour, not revenue per job, not gross. Profit per hour. Stop looking at the size of the check. Start looking at what you actually are keeping after labor and after drive time and supplies and the aggravation factor if it's aggravating you, right? Pull your last 90 days, break it down by job type. I promise you, some categories are quietly draining the way your business is being run. Property management was draining me. Property management drains a lot of people. I work with a lot of people. I coach a lot of people that have dealt with property management companies. They only pay a certain amount. they pay when they want to, and you're, then if you're having staff, you're having to pay the staff before you're getting paid. So now you have to self-fund the payroll. And if you're not set up for that, that's a problem, right? So tip number 3. Ready for tip number 3? Pick one type of client who never haggles with you and never makes you chase a payment. This is the good one. Pick your favorite client type. Which of your current job types pays you promptly and doesn't nickel and dime the price and doesn't argue about scope? That's your signal. That's the direction to lean into. Not because it's the biggest contract on paper, because it's the one that actually respects your time and your rate. So do this exercise this week or the weekend, not someday. Don't say when you have it. This is more important than you know, right? This week, pull your numbers, name the job type you resent, and start asking, what would it look like if I said no to that job and yes to more of the thing that is actually working and that actually makes me happy? When you go and clean a unit or a house or a building, look at the jobs that you actually like doing. Those are the ones you need to do more of. And you need to drop the ones that you hate, right? You need to drop the ones that you hate, okay? So I know some of you are sitting there like thinking about your own property management contract, your own any job is better than no job client, the one that pays you flat no matter what's behind the door. And I know saying no to that feels like saying no to money. It doesn't. It's saying no to the wrong money. So the right money finally has a path and room to show up into your life. I did this the hard way. I did it after years of gross fridges and picking up mouse poop and bugs and all kinds of nasty stuff, okay? I did this for a long time. I did this with unpaid invoices and staff who quit on me, and I don't want that for you. I couldn't blame them for quitting on me, right? So you have to do this exercise. You don't want to do it the hard way like I did for years, and you can start doing it this week. That's the training. Go do the exercise. A rental. Hello. Go do the exercise. A rental. Yeah, the rentals are gross. Rentals are gross. Karina, rentals are gross. They are gross. People just don't clean up after themselves, right? Try this exercise. I hope this was helpful. I will see you all next week. All right. Bye.